Hello everyone. So in this video we're going to speak about the point of view. So the first thing you must know about the point of view, and please bear this in mind because students constantly fail at this. First thing you should know about the point of view is that it is not an opinion. See, it is big, it is blue, it is bold, okay? It is not an opinion. What we mean by the point of view is not an opinion, okay? So if you are asked to speak about the point of view in the text, you don't say the point of view in the text is that the author likes nature. It's wrong if you say that. The point of view is not an opinion. So what is it? The point of view is actually the voice of the narrator. Remember how I'm often telling you that there is a difference between the author and the narrator? That the author is the one who makes the story, who makes the literary text, but the narrator is the one who speaks or narrates the literary text, who reads the story. The difference between them is that the author is standing outside the story, but the narrator is standing inside the story. The narrator is a character inside the story, but the author is standing outside the story. The author often does not exist in their story. So what is it? Is about who is speaking, okay? Who is narrating the story, who is telling the story, who is speaking. It's the speaker and not the writer, okay? Who is speaking? Let me just write it here. Speaker, not the writer. Who is doing the action of speaking, not the action of writing. It's the way the author presents the work through the voice of a narrator. Okay, so do not confuse author and narrator because they are not the same. They are the same only in autobiographies. That is, when the author is writing his own or her own life. Okay, only in that case it's the same person. Otherwise, they are not the same person. So, the difference between the narrator and the author. In Frankenstein or Modern Prometheus, for example, the author is Mary Shelley. She is a woman, okay? She made the novel. Mary Shelley is a woman, all right? But the main character, the narrator in Frankenstein, in the beginning, it's, I think his name is Robert. It's the man who finds Victor Frankenstein at sea. And then the narration turns or transforms or moves, from the first character to Victor. So the narration is done by different people. They are men. None of them is Mary Shelley. Okay, so Mary Shelley is the author, but the speaker, the person who does the action of telling you the story inside the novel, is a narrator. They are not the author. Okay, she is the one who invented the literary work. She does not exist in the literary work. Here we are speaking of the writer. Okay, Victor is the narrator in different parts of the novel. Victor is the narrator. He is narrating the events that happen to him. Okay, the narrator is the one who does the action of telling the story or the events. He is the speaker. Okay, so now that you know the difference between the narrator and the speaker, we can speak about the different types of the point of view. So the point of view is the point of view of the narrator. It is the voice of the narrator. Why do we refer to it as point of view? It's because it refers to the perspective of the speaker. That is the speaker speaking from his own perspective or from somebody else's perspective? That is, are they telling events that are happening to him or to her, or are they telling events that are happening in front of them? Okay, that is, if there is an accident, is the narrator the victim of the accident, or was the narrator just standing aside, watching the accident happen, witnessing the accident, and they are just reporting the events, but nothing happened to them? Okay, so there are two main points of views, okay, or two main perspectives. The first one is the first person point of view. So when you are speaking of the point of view, you say there is a first person point of view in the text, or the text is narrated in the first person point of view. Okay, So it is first person if the events are happening directly to the character. If there is an accident, for example, so the character was touched by the accident directly. The character who is telling the story, or the narrator, is a victim of the incident. It is a victim, they are a victim, sorry, of the accident. Okay? The narrator is a character. Okay? It is characterized by the use of I and we. The author achieves immediacy with the reader if as if directly speaking to him. It's not the author, it should be the narrator here. Sorry. The narrator achieves immediacy with the reader as if directly speaking to him, if the action is happening directly to the speaker. Okay, so the first person point of view, it's the point of view, or it's the case, the situation in which the speaker is telling things or telling events that directly happened to him or to a group in which he was, so he or she. Okay, so it's characterized by the use of I and we. So when the events are told, you find the personal pronouns I and we. Okay, I was hurt, I was subject to, or I was a victim of an incident. Okay, for example, in Robinson Crusoe, he was speaking about how he was fighting with the sea. So he was speaking about the waves. He said the next wave threw me, I think he says, threw me, and then the sea swallowed me down. See, he's speaking about himself. He's saying me. Okay, in that case, it's first person. What if the speaker wasn't drowning at the sea? What if the speaker was just standing there on a rock and watching Robinson Crusoe drowning? And he would say, I saw Robinson fighting with the wave, and then the waves threw him inside on a rock, and then he was swallowed by the wave and swallowed by the sea. See, I am here using the third person pronoun he. I am not saying I and we. In this case, that is, if I am reporting the events, that is, if the events did not happen directly to me, but I am only reporting them, the point of view is third person and not first person. Okay, so it is first person if the events happened directly to the speaker, and it is third person if the speaker is simply reporting or witnessing the action. See, they are a witness of the action. They are just reporting the action, and they are using the personal pronouns he, she, they. Okay, now let's go back to the first person. I said the first person is the case in which the narrator or the speaker has taken part in the action. Okay, they have participated in the action. They have taken part in the action. Okay, things are happening directly to him or her, and they are using the personal pronouns I and we to speak. Okay, in this case, there are two kinds or two types of first person point of view. The point of view can be central or peripheral. All right. So the point of view is central when the narrator is the central character, that is, the protagonist, like the case of Robinson Crusoe. Robinson Crusoe is telling his story, he's telling things that happened to him, and he is the protagonist. In this case, he is a central narrator. That is, he is a narrator who is telling a story about himself. Okay, he is telling a story in which he is the protagonist. Okay, and the first person point of view can also be peripheral. What do I mean by peripheral? The narrator is telling events that happened to him. The narrator has taken part in the event, but the narrator is not the protagonist. Okay? I could be telling you the story. I could be speaking about a moment in the story in which things happened directly to me, but I am not the protagonist. Someone else is the protagonist. Okay? I am speaking of a car accident that happened to me and the protagonist. We were both in the car. So I say we were both in the car. We were shocked. We were overthrown. Okay, and I am using here the first person pronoun we. I am including myself in the narration. I am a first person narrator, but I am not the protagonist. It's the other person who is the protagonist of the story. Okay, it's a story. They know it's a story. They are the protagonist. I am not the protagonist. In this case, I am a peripheral narrator. I am not a central narrator. Okay, peripheral when the narrator is not the hero but another character. Okay, so point of view can be first person or third person. If the point of view is first person, it can be central or peripheral. It is central if the narrator is the central character, that is the protagonist. It is the peripheral, sorry, if the narrator is not the hero, is not the protagonist, but another character. Okay? Now let's speak about the third person point of view. In the third person point of view, as I said, things are told from another perspective, from the perspective of someone who was just watching, witnessing the events. So the person here is only reporting the events, okay? Events did not happen to them directly. They were just standing there, watching the events, and then they are reporting, just like the reported speech that we used to do in grammar, okay? So the most commonly used most commonly used in literature, characterized by the use of he, she, and they. Okay, they only witness the action; they do not take part in the action. Okay, they are standing outside the action and they are just watching. So the third person point of view can also be two types. First type, omniscient. Second type, limited. So they are omniscient. Omniscient means they are everywhere, okay? Assuming infinite knowledge and understanding. The narrator knows everything, The narrator knows everything about each character and moves from one to another with complete freedom, imparting their thoughts and feelings in turn. Okay, the omniscient narrator is a narrator who knows everything about everyone. Okay, they will see a character now, they will introduce the character, they will tell you what the character was doing in the past and what the character will be doing in the future. Okay, so you can see that the omniscient narrator is not truly a real narrator, right? We cannot consider him as a real person. Why? Nobody knows what will happen in the future. Nobody knows what is truly happening in the brains of other people. Okay, so if it's an omniscient narrator, they are entirely fictional. They cannot be a real person. They cannot be something like a real person. And we often find them in classical literature and particularly in fairy tales. You know, in fairy tales, we have that voice, that narrator who knows everything about everyone and who knows what will happen in the future. Okay, so they are omniscient because they know everything. Or limited. So the limited narrator focuses only on one character. The field of vision is restricted to him or to her alone. They only know the things they see. Okay, the limited third person narrator is a narrator who only knows the things they see. They are more lifelike, they are more realistic. Okay, that, for example, if I am telling you the story, I am real. So I only know the things I have seen. I have met a person, the person is smiling, they look nice. So I'm going to tell you the person just arrived and they are smiling, they look nice. But I don't know what will happen in the future. I don't know if they are going to be a nice person or a bad person in the future. I don't know if they are going to hurt someone. I don't know what is happening in their brain. Okay. In this case, I am limited. I am not omniscient. The omniscient narrator knows these things. But if I am a limited narrator, I don't know these things. I only see the things, I only know the things I see. Okay. So the point of view is the voice of the narrator. So there are two types of narrators. The first person narrator and the third person narrator, or first person point of view, third person point of view. If I am first person point of view or first person narrator, I have taken part in the action. Okay, I have the action happened to me and to the protagonist. All right. So if I am the protagonist of the story, I am a central first person narrator. If I am not the protagonist, but I am included in the incident and in the actions, I am a peripheral first person point of view. Okay. And then the second type of point of view is the third person point of view. They are a person who did not take part in the action, whom the incidents didn't happen to, but they are just taking part, they are just witnessing the action and reporting the action. In this case, they will be using the third person pronouns he, she, it, and they, while in the first person, they will be using the personal pronouns I and you. Okay, so the third person will be using the personal pronouns he, she, they, They can be omniscient. That is, the narrator knows everything about everyone. They know what will happen in the future, the brain, the thoughts of other people, and so on. And of course, this narrator cannot be real, so they are not like a real person. Or they can be limited. If the third person point of view is limited, that is, if the narrator is third person limited, they have only witnessed the events, they did not take part in the events, and they only know the things they see. Okay? They only know the things they witness. They don't know about people's thoughts, about what will happen in the future, what happened in the past, and so on. Okay? So this is all for the point of view. Now let's speak about the literary devices. For the literary devices, I'm only going to speak about the choice of the language before I move to the figures of speech. Now, literary devices are the different devices or aesthetics that are used by the author. So they can be, first we have the register. The register is the choice of the language. There are various levels of language. It can be religious, formal, informal, colloquial, slang, taboo. A register is determined through the context, sorry. It is determined through the context and the word choice of the author. Okay? The word choice of the author. That is, the author could be using, or the author will choose the words according to the context of the narration or of the story. All right. If they mean their story to be something religious, so they are going to use a lot of religious related words. If the text is written in the 18th century, 17th to 18th century, even early 19th century, it's written in the formal language. It can also be written in the informal language if it's 19th century. Colloquial uses a lot of colloquial words, like in Washington Irving's Rip Van Winkle. This is a text you are going to deal with in the second semester. The author uses the word lad in order to refer to friend. So that's colloquial. Okay, so that's sort of a local language, slang, and or taboo. Okay. The words can also be industrial, as the case of hard times. They can be technological. Technological and industrial in that case. It all depends on the context and on the environment of the text. Okay. Next, the diction. Now, you know that the English language developed because of the contribution of different languages, okay? So when we're speaking of the diction, we're speaking of the word choice, or more particularly of the, the word origin, okay? We're here speaking of the word origin. It can be Anglo-Saxon origin, okay, or Latin origin. In general, they are Anglo-Saxon or Latin origin, okay? When we start American literature, there will be some Indian or Native American origin words, all right? So usually in the English language is composed either of Anglo-Saxon origin words or Latin origin words. Now, you are not going to find a text that is composed entirely of Anglo-Saxon origin words, or a text that is composed entirely of Latin origin words. But what you are going to find is a text that has more Anglo-Saxon origin words than Latin origin, or the other hand, or the other way around, more Latin origin words than Anglo-Saxon origin words. Okay, so in this case, you have to decide whether the words that are used in the text are more Latin origin or Anglo-Saxon origin words. How do you make the difference between them? You have an example here, the word angry and the word furious. Now, angry and furious, both of them have the same meaning, okay? Both angry and furious have the same meaning. While angry is the Anglo-Saxon origin, of a Anglo-Saxon origin, sorry, furious is of a Latin origin, okay? Same thing if we say happy and uh, joyful. Okay, happy is the Anglo-Saxon origin word, and joyful is a Latin origin word. So when you are discussing a text, does this text include more Anglo-Saxon origin words or Latin origin words? Now, this is very easily spotted in the text of Robinson Crusoe that I have given here. So I'm not going to give you the answer in the video. I want you to find it. I want you to find the answer on your own. So do you think in the text of Robinson Crusoe, there are more Anglo-Saxon origin words than Latin origin words, or the other way around? Okay, so we're going to speak about that in class. This is the end of the video. In the next video, I'm going to speak about the figures of speech, the tone, and the atmosphere. Bye-bye.